Hello, and welcome to As Built, the podcast about architecture firms and buildings and how both get built. I am Patience Jones, your co-host, and with me is
Brian Jones,
your other co-host. Thank you for joining us, and apologies because I have allergies, and well, we're just all on this journey together, aren't we? So today we're talking about how architecture firms can differentiate themselves. Brian, why does this matter?
well, if everybody was the same, then it really wouldn't matter who you hired because it would just be whoever happened to be in front of you. That's one reason.
Yes, correct. Let's unpack that a little bit. Yes. So people make decisions by making comparisons. That's how they decide between multiple things. If they don't have factors that they can compare because they don't understand what they are, they will default to what they know. And what everybody knows is price. So that will become the sole way that somebody decides whether they're going to hire your firm or another firm. And if you are only ever competing on price, it is, as we all know, a race to the bottom. Because you lower your price, then your competitor lowers their price, and before you know it, you're doing like a new hospital for $5.
Yep.
So what firms need to do is be able to identify and communicate to prospects how they are truly different from their competitors.
I would like to say, before we dive into this a little bit more, this is one of those conversations that sometimes firms are reluctant to engage in. The idea of differentiation, because I think there could be a perception that as a firm, as an architecture firm in particular, that you're immune from needing to have this conversation because people will be able to look at your work and intuit exactly what makes you unique and special so that you do not have to be thoughtful about that as a way of calling it out. And I would just like to say that that is not correct. That especially now, people are becoming much more sophisticated in the way that they procure services. And so you are very much a part of that conversation and essential to the survival of your firm. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, we need to let go of the idea that this is somehow gauche or beneath you to explain this. You can certainly take that position, but you probably won't have a lot of commissions.
Well, and I would say if you do take that position, you're allowing everything about the conversation about your firm to be determined by an external force. You have no say in how this happens. So like the differentiation, although the word differentiation can sometimes seem a bit negative, what it truly is what is your firm designed to do? What is it best at? And that is the sole point of this journey.
I mean, put another way, what makes you better than everybody else? Because I think if you talk to architecture firm leaders, every single one of them will say, our firm is better, our firm is best. Okay, tell me how. Tell me at what. That's your differentiation.
It starts a bit with identifying where you have intellectual property in your firm. And I don't mean that in maybe the traditional way that people think of it, but it's like the sort of knowledge resources that have been built up through practice experience and through the talent that you have in your firm that make you unique and special for a particular type of project. So it's why you see firms that specialize in hospitality or firms that specialize in institutional work or hospitals.
You're right. And I think that is something that many firms don't do a good job of. We're starting to see more of them put front and center, this is the type of work that we focus on. But for many years, most of them didn't. And you as a prospective client had to sort of suss out, is this something that they would do? Do they handle this? How much experience do they have in this? Have they done one of these projects, or do they have decades of experience in this area? And for a long time, where the architects went to school was the only way that they wanted to differentiate. So you would have a firm that sort of premised its differentiation on, well, we all went to GSD. Okay, a prospect, one, doesn't know what that is. 2, doesn't know what that means. 3, doesn't know why that would be a benefit over a firm of architects who went to school somewhere else. So where you went to school, just announcing that is not enough of a differentiator unless you're willing to explain, we all went to this school and we studied these programs and this is how we were trained and this is our experience.
Or it gives us this unique process that other professionals don't have.
Right. Which is another way to differentiate. What's your process? How do you work with your clients? How do you staff your projects? Is it a principal and designer on every project? Do you have a team of 12 people on every project? Does the principal work directly with the client?
Well, and if you're thinking about it from the client's perspective, what is the role of a client in the relationship? Is it that they are a check and that the architect goes and does what they're thing, which is really just not something that happens all that often anymore. But this is your moment to say, this is kind of the way that we work best and the way that you will get the best outcome.
And some clients really do want, not the checkbook model, but they are looking for a firm that can be, one way of calling it is like more turnkey. They're looking for a firm who will come in, whether or not you feel like this is the traditional role of the architect, they're looking for a firm that will come in and say, we've got everything covered. Get all the contractors, we're going to get all the vendors, we're going to get all the subs. All you have to do is work with us and we'll take care of everything, because the client really doesn't want to be involved in that much. You will also have clients who are looking for a firm who is willing to have a meeting with them about every single thing and sort of treat them as a design partner in this project. And there's not a wrong way or right way. It's just the way that you do it and making sure that you're attracting the clients that also want to work that way.
And you're also not just attracting the clients, you're also attracting talent that wants to work that way. I think there used to be sort of a veil over the firm and the way that the firm worked and what you could expect your life to be like. And I think that mercifully that is coming to a close in many instances where you can really understand, one, the type of work that you're likely to do, what your day-to-day will be like, and what the culture of the firm is, because you want people to want to work for your firm and you want it to be sought after. And I'm not talking about you have made a household name for yourself. I'm talking about the firm where it's like you're actively engaged and trying to recruit and people may or may not know of your existence. And so how do you say, this is equally as important to gathering clients as it is to gathering talent.
And for both of those audiences, showcasing the personality of the firm and the personality of some of the leadership and some of the people who will be dealing directly with clients. It can be very intimidating for a prospect to, especially if they haven't worked with an architecture firm before, to think about talking to an architect. They don't know the terminology. They don't know the principles of architecture. They may not be able to articulate their points of reference. And architects are lovely, but they can sometimes be very intimidating unintentionally. So ways to cut through that are to showcase that you are real people. And I don't mean those like gifts that people put on their website where it's like, here's me in my serious pose and like, here's me with some balloons and a crazy face.
Please stop doing that.
Yeah, please don't do that. It's more like, what do I write about on LinkedIn? What's the tone of voice that I use? Are there any videos of me doing presentations or explaining concepts on the website so that people start to see that I'm a person that they could talk to and a person that they could trust with their project?
Yeah, don't meme yourself.
Yeah, well,
and I mean that in every sense of the word, where it's like you are creating a cultivated presence of yourself for a tiny snapshot, and it is the worst part of the age that we live in, where it's like you're trying to distill yourself down into a caricature. And I would say resist that urge in that regard.
yes.
And let people find and understand you as a person in a real and meaningful way.
Yeah. I mean, don't try to be anything. Just be who you are. Just let your firm be who it is.
Yep.
Stop trying to look a certain way or trying to sound a certain way. You want clients who want to work with who you are and what you're about and how you work. And it's exhausting to be working on your own facade and the facade of your firm all the time. Just be your firm. And if there's something that you think needs to change, then work on changing that. Don't work on trying to make it look like that's not the way it is.
Yeah. And I think that it's, we've talked about this a number of times, but like this is the differentiation is not a static entity.
No.
It is something that may change over time. And to your point, like if you have a thing that you want to change about your firm and you make steps to make that change, you need to sort of fold that into how you talk about your firm. But, one, that takes planning. So, you got to set up, ways in which you get there. But it also takes a review of like what really is who we are at this moment. And has anything changed from the way that we convey ourselves so that everything always lines up with one another. It's really, really, really important.
And an easy way to do that is to look at your firm from an outsider's perspective. What are we putting out about our firm? What's publicly knowable by a layperson? And then you want to check to make sure bases are covered, like the geographic area that you work in, if you have any specialties, if you are experts in a particular type of topology or climate or use, if you have certifications, what they are and why they matter, not just, here are all the certifications that I have, because again, see above, people may not know why that's significant.
Well, and you want to test a little bit too, I think, building on that, the anecdotal evidence that you hear from conversations that you're having with people outside of your firm. Are the things that you're putting out there, are they coming back to you in conversations? And if they aren't, then, maybe you have to redouble your efforts, or maybe you have to sort of say like, what is coming back to us? And like, is that really who we are? And if not, how do we work to change that? But it's like that there's a balance between the measurable and the anecdotal always in these efforts.
And the same is true with competitors. If you start to hear your competitor firm saying, oh, we're different because X, but that's actually something that you do, and that's a big draw for prospects, then you have to start focusing on, okay, we need to make sure people know that we offer this service or have this approach or whatever the thing is. You don't want to cede your territory because you weren't paying attention to what other people were saying.
So what do you think the big takeaways and differentiation are for architecture firms?
Don't be afraid to talk about the things that make you different, and stop for 5 minutes and take a really hard look at how are we different? And maybe that's different than what you thought it was. If it helps to talk to people outside of your firm or people outside of the industry, particularly, other architects may not be as helpful, to say, what do you think our firm does? What do you think it would be like to work with our firm? Why would you pick our firm over somebody else? And even talking to current clients, why did you choose our firm? What was it that tipped the scales for you? That can be really, really helpful in figuring out, okay, how do we communicate to future prospects what's different about us and why they should want to go with our firm? Because I guarantee if you put out there, here's how we work, here's who we are, here's the benefit that we offer to you, that will give you such an advantage over a firm that holds everything so closely to the vest, doesn't communicate anything, and just says, this is our firm name and here's where we went to school.
And here's our work.
And maybe here's our work.
I would only add on to that once you've done that process, assume that you have to keep doing that process.
Yeah.
It is an ongoing and never ending. This is the life of keeping your firm vibrant and growing and always positioned well to get the jobs that you should be getting.
For where you are right now, not where you were, 5 years ago or
Right.
even 18 months ago. So where you are right now is at the end of our episode. Thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.